Hello, hello. I am finally on here. I know it's late, guys. I apologize in advance. It's been a crazy day. It's always a crazy day. It's been crazy since this whole COVID thing started, for sure, for sure. So, we're going to get started tonight. Hopefully, many of you can hop on. Hopefully, your little kiddos are sleeping and we can get into this. So for you guys who don't know me, my name is Raven Woods and I'm the CEO and founder of Autism Mama Rocks, the IEP, and I help parents gain the knowledge and the confidence to become the CEO of their IEP meeting. So with that said, if you haven't clicked notifications, make sure you do that. That's number one. Number two, make sure that you share this because so many parents these days are going through a really hard time. And if they can learn something or have something help them, why not, right? And if you haven't been part of our group, join the group over at Autism Mama Rocks, the IEP group. You can put that into the search bar and make sure that you join the group. It's amazing. So post a 1 below if you are new. So your first, maybe through third time, and post a 2 below if you are an oldie but goodie. I want to know you guys are here. So tonight we're going to talk about standardized IEPs, okay? And that may sound weird, okay? But it's not. There is such thing as a standard-based IEP that actually took over just regular IEPs, if you will. And IDEA talks a lot about the content that is based in what's called a standard IEP. Hi, Debbie. How are you? Again, post a 1 below if you're new, a 2 below if you're an oldie but goodie. So regulations governing special education basically ordered states to uphold the law in regards to IEPs and to change them from just a basic IEP to a standard IEP, which has to have a lot of things in it. Hi, Grace. And Grace, there's two Graces here, an oldie and goodie, and a newbie, so welcome. And Debbie, welcome. Carol and Cynthia, welcome, welcome. Don't forget, post a 1 below if you're new, 2 below if you're an oldie but goodie. Make sure you click those notifications and don't join the group if you haven't already. Okay. So what's a standard IEP? So a standard IEP has to have certain things in it, okay? And it has to be very descriptive. A lot of schools are not creating standard IEPs. Problem with that is they're not taught how to make them. And I get that, makes sense, but you have to learn, right? And so they need to have training on this. And it's something that if after you've made state complaints and, have had a lot of issues, you can actually send a letter to the district or in your state complaint state that, because it'll say what is something that you want in regards to the situation going on in which you made the complaint for. How do you want it resolved? So then you can say, I want it resolved by having the district staff trained in XYZ, okay? And that's a smart thing to do. You definitely want to have your district train their staff. That's actually an excellent resolution along with whatever it is that is the issue that you would make a state complaint over. But always say that you want the district to train its staff in whatever it may be. If it's restraints, then that's a huge one. They need to have training in that. They can't just restrain a child and just go with the flow. They have to know how to do it. There's manned training, there's different types of training out there, and they have to know how to do it. Okay? So I have all my notes in front of me, so we're going to get going with this, okay? So the team obviously creates the standard IEP. You are the number one part of that team, okay? And it's important to realize that, recognize that, and know that they cannot bully you in a way that makes you feel insufficient. They can't bully you to where you feel like if you changed or rescheduled an IEP, which I've found to be a huge issue, if you go and try to reschedule IEP because life happens and they want to give you a hard time and say, no, we can't do that because we have to meet. It's your annual. We have to meet. Okay, well, putting the annual off a week, possibly two, because something came up is not going to kill them. And it definitely isn't going to do anything to your IEP. They don't expire. So just because the annual is coming up doesn't mean your IEP is just going to fly away. It doesn't. So them saying, oh, no, we can't do that. We're going to meet without you. No, you're not saying I refuse to come. You're saying I can't make it due to whatever the reason is. And honestly, it's none of their business. So you're not refusing to go. And the only way that a school can say that they're going to hold an IEP meeting without you is if they go above and beyond to try and get you there. Okay? So what I mean by above and beyond, that's multiple times emailing you, calling you, trying to get a hold of you, and you've just ignored them, or you're saying that you're just not going, or whatever the case may be. But they cannot just hold an IEP meeting without you there, a huge member of that team, and then just say, oh, sorry, this is the annual, so you couldn't make it, you rescheduled, we're going to meet without you. I don't think so, because you're part of that team, and they don't get to have a discussion without you, because a team is a team. That's multiple, not just one, meaning the district really I consider as one. And so they cannot. I want to tell you guys this because it's so important, and I've realized in working with so many of you that it's a huge issue. Stop being afraid to reschedule your meetings. If your kids get sick, you have something come up, with this going on right now in COVID, say your husbands take the kids one day and you keep the kids another, whatever the situation is in your family, you need to make sure that it's going to work for you to have that meeting. You want quiet. You don't want chaos and, meltdowns happening while you're trying to focus. So you want to make sure that that's going to be in place. And if you have to reschedule that meeting so that that can happen, then you need to do that. If they respond with, we're going to have a meeting without you, then you need to make sure that you say, from what I'm hearing from you, is my rescheduling the IEP for possibly 5 to 14 days, not business days, 5 to 14 days, you are going to hold the IEP without me when I am in no way refusing to attend the IEP. I am simply saying things came up, life happened, especially now you can use COVID, but in general, you shouldn't have to use anything other than something came up that's important. I need to reschedule this meeting. What works for you? Here are 3 dates. Don't ever do it 14 days later, but past 14 days. But as long as it's within 14 days, you send an email, you say you're going to go, you want to be there, but something came up. Just say something important came up that you'd like to reschedule for the 14th, 15th, 16th at 9 a.m., 10 a.m., 11 a.m., whatever they choose. Let them have a little bit of freedom to choose if you're going to reschedule. Okay? It's only fair. And that is imperative to know. So you need to make sure you flip it on them if they say they're going to meet without you. So what I'm hearing you say, mirror them in the sense of, what they're saying, and say, what I'm hearing you say is, you're going to hold the meeting without me, which is a procedural violation, by the way. And I am not in any way refusing to not be there. I'm simply saying that something came up, just like in everybody's life, things happen, and the IEP does not expire. Nothing is going to happen in the next 2 weeks or 10 days or whatever it is that you need. So I just want to make sure I'm hearing you clearly that you are going to go ahead and hold the meeting without the parent, a major part of the team, which again, tell them again, which is a procedural safeguard. That's the biggest violation that they can make, a procedural safeguard. It's really a procedural violation. Okay, some people call it a safeguard. So procedural, when they hear that word, alarm bells go off. Procedural violation, okay? You need to know what they are, but make sure that if you know what they are, use it. So what's the difference between these traditional IEPs and standard-based IEPs? So I'm going to read it to you. So traditional IEPs have previously focused on a student acquiring basic academic and or functional skills, okay? So what that means is that it was a basic IEP, a traditional, just ordinary IEP, which is what they used to do, all right? Now they have to have a standard IEP, which includes a grave amount, extensive amount, a voluminous amount of data. So that's the important part about this type of IEP, which is mandated across the United States. In every state, no state gets to get one over on anybody because they're in a certain state. It is what it is. And schools are not upholding this law, and it's a federal law, okay? And I think that the more we learn about them and the more we take hold of what it means, and I haven't talked a whole lot about this because I talk about them in general, but I think it's important for you to understand there was a traditional IEP and now there's a standard, which happened years ago. But schools aren't adhering to that, and it's happening more and more now because of COVID, because schools are somehow trying to take advantage of the fact that some parents think that there's going to be changes because of COVID. All right. What I mean by that is not changes that our kids are not in school. That's a huge change. I know here they may not even go back to school till January, which is insane. And it's unfortunate, and I'm dealing with that myself. And just to get off track for just a second, if you guys don't mind, is that okay? I want you guys to know that I work with you, a lot of you guys, a lot of you are on here, okay? And we talk, and you guys have said, oh, well, you're the expert. And yeah, I've been doing this 13 years. I know a lot about this, but I don't think anyone is per se an expert. I think that I have experience. I have, a grave amount of knowledge in the subject area, if you will. I'm a mom of a child with autism and have fought for her for 12 plus years. And I obviously have been trained under Pete Wright and Wright's Law, and then also with COPA. But guess what? I just want you guys to know this. And I'm going to be very vulnerable and transparent with you, which I always am. And you guys know that about me. But I want you to know that advocates even need advocates. Did you know that? And I want you to know that because I have a good friend that I'm going to have come on here. Her name is Karen. And I am so excited to have her come on very soon. I'm going to be interviewing her, and she is an amazing person. Her name is Karen Cunningham. And I love her to death. And when I need help, which I do when it comes to my child, and I'll tell you why, I am really good at strategy and coming up with things and helping parents with IEPs and finding all those crazy things that are in IEPs. And I'm good at arguing in a meeting, and I call it arguing because that's really what it is. A lot of people kind of sugarcoat it and say, oh, we're all going to try to get along, and, we're just going to, make sure that we know the law and da-da-da. Okay, we're arguing. Bottom line, that's what we're doing. Okay, let's just take out the nicer words, okay? And bottom line, when it comes to my daughter, I get very emotional. A lot of times I'll cry, and it's not in the meeting. I hold my composure in the meeting. Look, I'm getting all emotional now, but I hold my composure in the meeting. But when it comes to my daughter, that's it. It's kind of like the mama bear comes out in you. But I need that guidance. And I obviously am an advocate, so I'm very picky about who I choose. But I go to Karen for that 411, like, okay, help me think. I can't think, my head gets all, do you guys get this way? So you think that, I don't get this way. I do. Okay. Like I'll start reading things, in the IEP, and then I'll just start seeing things, and I don't see things clearly sometimes because it's my child and I get emotional, and there's a lot of emotion that goes involved in it. Right. But, I do know how to get things in order once that emotion is pushed aside. So if things get heightened, I get the same way that you guys do, where you're just like, I just can't deal with it anymore, and that's when I call Karen. Like, you gotta help me, please. So I just wanted to be vulnerable with you guys in reference to that, because it's true. Okay. I need help too. And, I think it's important for you guys to know that, because I'm human, and, when it comes to our kids, we're emotional, and, we break down. And I had a breakdown the other day because I'm just so frustrated at the fact that, they've offered to do things online with my child, even though it's not mandatory in this area, but I won't do it because she will not learn that way. And so it's damned if I do, damned if I don't, because she's not going to learn that way. And is it taking a toll on me having to teach her? Yes. A lot of emotional issues are happening right now. Like, anxiety is completely heightened with me right now because, I'm busy. I work. I have a business, obviously. And then I'm trying to teach my child. And that is not what I'm good at, teaching my own children. Did I used to be a teacher? Yes. But I don't want to teach my own children. And I don't mean that in a bad way, but that's just not my thing. And so I'm just frustrated. Can you tell? I'm like frustrated because in my mind, I'm thinking, if I have to teach her until January, someone please shoot me now, because it's going to make me insane, literally, because it's hard. Is it hard for you guys? I mean, it is seriously hard. And, I've gotten really good at math. Reading, I'm ready to strangle her. That's her area of weakness. I can't deal with the meltdowns that go with it. And I just leave the table, and then we have to come back to it. It's just a mess. So I'm venting to you guys because I know you guys like to vent to me. And so I'm just venting to y'all. So if you want to hop off, you don't have to hear my venting. But yeah, that's where I'm at right now. So I wanted to be vulnerable with you guys to let you know that I am with you. All right. Thank you, Grace. Hey, Brittany. How are you? Hey, Anna. Hi, Sabrina. Debbie says, hi, Raven. I'm good. Hope everything is well with you too. Oh, can you tell? I'm having an emotional breakdown here on live Facebook. All right, guys. So seriously, let's get on to standard IEPs, okay? So what I want you to know is components of it. One of the biggest parts of your IEP is your present levels. How many of you skip that part? You read it a little bit and you kind of just get past it because you want to get to the goals or the services. Or how many people have just, when they get I used to do this. This is why I'm asking. So I used to get my IEPs and I'd flip straight to the service and accommodation area. Skip everything else. And the stupidest thing I could have done, And that's why when I talk to people and I do IEP makeovers with them, we go through page 1 through whatever the last page is, page by page, because you will miss something if you don't, okay? I can't tell you how many times the school will change up your IEP. You'll just look at the services or accommodations or maybe skim through the goals, and then you sign that IEP, and later you find something that wasn't in the last IEP that they added and didn't tell you. Is it okay to vent, especially when people like me randomly messaged? Totally fine. Brittany said, I'm so glad that ours is over, 7 weeks, and I'm done. If they're doing this at the beginning of the school year, yeah. And know that a lot of our schools may not even start until January. So we'll see. All right, so federal regulations require IEPs. Okay, so think about this. Look at your IEPs. In your IEPs, your child is either participating in and is on the diploma track, or they're on a alternate route. Okay, usually it's a program that is in your state. Like here it's called VAAP. It's the Virginia Assessment something or other. But it's a modification of the SOL, which is what's given here, the standardized test in Virginia. So find out what your standardized test is. Find out, if you don't know, if your child is on the diploma track. It should be checked off in your IEP if your child is on the diploma track. If they're not, it has to be checked off in your IEP that they are not on the diploma track, what it's called that they are using, and what that test and assessment is. Okay, that test and assessment has to be noted in your IEP. If your child is not on the diploma track, the federal regulations are that your goals and everything else have to have short-term goals. Not all IEPs have to have short-term goals. I always put short-term goals in every IEP that I go through with clients. It's stupid not to, okay? Because then if you have taken my course or you have spoken with me, you know, or even hearing me here, you should have quarterly IEPs, which is basically to go over your progress reports that you should have gotten, and you're able to go over those quarterly those quarterly goals that are in your goals. So you have an annual goal, and then you have other short-term goals of which they reach each quarter. Okay, so you should have 3 short-term goals and 1 annual goal. Okay, out of the 4, 1 year, right? So basically, if your child is not on the diploma track, they must. It is a federal regulation to have short-term goals. Okay. So that is a must. You have to know that, okay? In the present levels, it needs to state where your child is right now. Stop having your present levels only talk about your child. Oh, he's doing good, and Sam is, reading 2nd grade books, da-da-da-da-da. No, we're not telling a story here. The present levels is where your child is right now, what goals they've mastered, what they're going to be working on, and it needs to then revert back to the goals. It should say the goals that we're working on currently in the present levels. It should say the goals we're working on currently are either put in again because they didn't master them, and then it needs to say why. Okay? So present levels is kind of like a PWN, really. It should say why your child did not master the goals, okay? And it should talk about, not who your child is, that they're a good kid and they love to swing on the swing, and no, that's not their present levels. Their present levels is where they are academically. So it should actually go through reading, math, science, language arts, da-da-da-da, okay? So it should not be a story about how Sam likes to swing and he's such a sweet boy and all that stuff. We don't care if they want to talk about our children being smart kids or a sweet kid or likes to eat candy or likes to swing on the swing or whatever. That's not what present levels is about. Do we want to hear praise about our kids? Of course. We love to hear good things about our kids, but do we need to have them in the present levels? Absolutely not. That's not the place for them. So make sure your present levels are they should tell a story of their academics. Math, reading, and it should go in sync with the academic area, okay? It should not talk about all that other fuzzy stuff, okay? So again, standard versus traditional IEPs. If you guys are hopping on, post a 1 below if you're new, a 2 below if you're an oldie but goodie. Make sure you click notifications, share this as much as you want to, and make sure that you guys join the group at Autism Mama Rocks IEP group. You can just put that in the search area and you can join the group. All right, so moving on. So remember, present levels, if the child is not on the diploma track, which that should be in the present levels, and it should also be a box that is checked off in the IEP, whether they're on the diploma track or whether they're on the alternate assessment track. If they're on the alternate assessment track, there must be short-term goals. There's no ands, ifs, or buts about it. It is a federal law. And they need to also note everything in regards to that type of assessment in the present levels. Okay, if they're on the SOL track, they don't have to mention it in the present levels. But if they are not, it has to be mentioned in the present levels. It has to be checked off, and they have to have short-term goals. Okay. All right. So let's talk about data. Okay. Did any of you guys watch the video that I posted here last night with Pete Wright and all those amazing, well, there's 3 lawyers on there. They're awesome. You got Steedman, you had Pete Wright, and then you had Jerry. So they're all awesome. They're all really great. And the one attorney that I told you guys about, he's the one who won that case that set precedents for everything, the Indu case, all right, that was done in 2017. So I believe I posted information in regards to that case, and it's amazing. It talks about how children and their gains in their education cannot be minimal, okay? They need to make continuous progress. It cannot just be at a very minute, small way. It needs to be in a bigger way, and it needs to show that they are actually learning, okay? And when he won this case, it was pretty remarkable because, of course, it was a loss at due process. Then they went to the second appellate court and lost there. And then they went to the Supreme Court, and that is where they won. And so Jack Robinson is known for that. All right. And then you have, I think his last name was Steedman, but it was Wayne Steedman. He's the only one that I haven't met. And then, of course, Pete Wright. And then there was a lady on there named Piper Paul. She seemed really great. And then, of course, Dr. Roseanne. I'm going to be interviewing her on here very soon as well. So I'm very excited about all of them. I'm excited about, that recording. I have a link to it if you want it. It was awesome. Okay. And I love how Wayne Steedman talked about data, because I feel that is so important. The longer I advocate for parents, the more I see the importance of making sure, even if I have to get a hammer, that it is in your head that data is probably there's so many important things when it comes to IEP, but is probably one of the most important things, because how they collect data is so important. All right. You always want data. Okay. You want things measured by data. It has to be observable. All right. Not in class data. I want to see the data in my hand. Okay. So that's report data. Okay. Yes. Observations in the classroom is okay. I prefer better than observations in the classroom. I like when it's written assignments. So then I'm able to see those written assignments. All right. How you can kind of limit them picking and choosing the best assignments is put into your IEP how many assignments you want to see per week. Or you can say you want to see it all. You want it coming home daily. So just figure out what it is you want and make sure that that's documented. And if they're doing the written assignments after it's graded, they have to give it to you. Okay. So whatever it is that you require, make sure you have in your IEP. Okay. So basically here, when it talks about functioning relations to grade level standards, when it comes to classroom and student data, I'm going to go over 6 points with you. All right. The first one is the examination of this analysis of informal classroom assessment, statewide assessment, that's the other big one, is other than report data, I want assessments. I want to see what they were tested on. Benchmarks and assessments are proof to me that they know what they're doing. Authentic performance tasks, criterion-based evaluations, those are really good. You also have statewide assessments if that's what your child does, and authentic performance task. Those are okay. So the next one is essential skills in the grade level curriculum. You need to figure out what does your child have. Go back and listen to my video on the hierarchy of accommodations and modifications. And what you need to figure out is what accommodations and modifications does your child have? Do they have a substantive amount of accommodations but no modifications? Or do they have just regular accommodations, which would be like leaving the room to a quiet room to take a test, or a child who's blind taking a test in Braille? That's like a basic accommodation, but they're still doing the same type of work in the class. But as far as modifications, that is a whole change of what's happening. So the child's in the least restrictive environment, and you guys got to buy my my service accommodation modification mini course that's coming out in about a month, because I go into this in detail. Okay, I give you hundreds of accommodations, modifications, therapeutic accommodations and modifications, you name it. But it's important to understand what they are, and to understand that modifications is the change of what's going on in that classroom. Okay, so your child's in the least restrictive environment. The other kids are doing XYZ, but your child is doing this over here, and it could be they're given a test at the same time that a child with non-disabilities is given a test, but their test is totally different, and it's easier for them, maybe a little bit easier to read, less questions, and a totally different test for them. Or also they could have an accommodation that matches that modified test, which could be where somebody reads the test to them. I don't advise that unless they can completely not read. But then again, it's like if they can't read, they can't take a test. So obviously that's why I always talk about reading and the importance of it. And even more so the comprehension. And I think I've been very vocal with you guys that that's been a fight that I have recently had, because the types of therapy my child needs who has dyslexia is very expensive, and I don't care. They're going to pay for it. And so you have to make sure that your child gets what's needed and appropriate in regards to FAPE, okay? And the way you prove that is through data, all right? So the next thing is, what data indicates that the student's learning, and how can that data be utilized to determine future need? That is huge. I love that statement. I'm going to repeat it for you. What does the data that is in your child's IEP tell you and indicate about your child, and how they're performing, and what they're doing, and if they're succeeding or not? And then how can that data be utilized for future? So if you can't respond to that, and you're thinking in your head, well, I haven't even seen the data, what are you talking about? Or I've asked for the data over and over and over and they won't give it to me, that's a procedural violation as well. Then that's a problem, okay? So that means your goals and the data that is collected in regards to your goals must be changed. And believe me, they're going to put up a stink. Why? Because they don't want to do the work. They don't want to put down all the data that you actually should get, because it's a lot of work. It is. It's a lot of work to take data. It is. Okay? You guys should be taking data there at home. Okay? You should be recording your children, like I've been saying. And oh my God, I so gotta go back to the group and finish my 10 more days of my my challenge. But anyway, I just want you guys to know you should be taking data every day. All right? Taking notes, recording your kids, because guess what? You're going to be using that data to go get your child compensatory services that they are entitled to once they go back to school. because of all this gap of time of not having an education. Even though you're teaching them, it's still looked at like they're not having an education because of they're not in school. But because you're the teacher right now, the data you take, the school must take into consideration. And if they don't use it, that's a procedural violation too. So they have to take the parents' advice, thoughts, etc. into consideration. And especially when you guys are the only teacher right now, they have to take your data, which is a recording, not just notes. Remember, I've said it must be in recording right now because they're not seeing your child. All right. We should email requesting the data. Of course. I've never seen it. How old's your child? Debbie, how old's your child? Cynthia or Jessie says, I can understand. I love homeschooling, but sometimes it can be, yeah. Cynthia says, supposedly North Carolina is going to focus on getting K through 4th and at-risk students in the buildings first. Oh, okay. Thank you, Jessie, for sharing. Cynthia says, I watched the last hour. I meant to watch the beginning today. Emmett says, yes. Awesome. Cynthia says, ever seen an IEP with 0 accommodations or modifications? No, I actually have not, because typically a child with special needs some sort of accommodation or modification, or they should. We should email and request the data. Yeah, you have to request the data, of course. And progress reports. That's the other thing, guys. Listen to this. Progress reports have to be detailed. That's the other thing in here. So let me get through this, okay? Because it's going to be long if I don't. All right. So questions to ask yourself. What does the data tell the team about your child's performance? That's what a standard IEP does. Are there assessments that you can be looking at? Evaluations, IEEs. What did you learn about the data, and what accommodations are helping your child to do better and collect more data? All right. So if your child is doing well because they're taken to a quiet room to take a test, and when they weren't taken to the quiet room, they didn't do as well, well, that accommodation is working. So that's data. Is this accommodation is working because this amount of time from the baseline of when they first started, that is the baseline. The baseline is the beginning. So when data is taken, there's a beginning start date. And that is where data has to start. There always in your IEP must be a baseline. Then data is taken, and every quarter you should be receiving, or every 9 weeks, whatever it is that other children get report cards. So every 9 weeks or whatever it is in your state, you get what's called a progress report. Those progress reports should not be just the goals and then a comment of how they're doing. No, no, and no. What needs to be in that progress report is not only what your child's doing, what goal, but where they are in that goal, meaning not a number. I know here in Virginia, they put a freaking number, 1 through 5. As to 1, they didn't start the goal yet. 5, they mastered it. And then they'll put a comment. But that's not data. Show me the data. So you need to state in your IEP, because there should be a portion that says that progress reports will be sent home just like children with non-disabilities, or it says something like that. So under that needs to state data collection measured in each goal will be provided to the parent with the progress report. Okay. All right. Another thing is make sure that your previous IEP progress is mastered, so that when you go into the next IEP, you need to make sure, are those goals the same? And if they are, why? Why did your child not master the previous year's goals? And I don't want to hear excuses at all. Okay? Because the first thing I'm going to do is ask for a evaluation, immediately ask for an IEE, and I'm going to prove, more than likely, that they're full of you know what. So I want to know why my child did not master those goals. And that's why you should have quarterly IEPs. So the whole year does not go by and you have no clue that your child is not progressing. If you do it by quarter, you catch it quickly and then you can move forward in what you're going to do about it. And the team should be on that same page. All right? Or you get them there. You get them on that page. All right? So again, make sure in your present levels that it states, you know, different things in regards to your child and their goals, how things are measured, all that kind of stuff. So it needs to be utilized and looked at as an ongoing thing when it comes to the goals. So here's kind of the summary. Okay, here's the goals, you know? So here's the summary. Here's the baseline of where my child is. And it should tell you exactly where they are. And then you move into the goals and they should flow. Okay? All right. So goals should be stated so that progress obviously is measured. So as measured by report data collection and written assignments, et cetera, et cetera. 9 out of 10 times. Or 9 out of 10 trials. Okay? That's a decent way to look at it. You don't want the word, get rid of the words consecutive, 3 of 4 times, unless they're young, but then you build it up. All right. I made that mistake. Federal regulations also require in your IEP to have a description of benchmarks and short-term objectives if they are on that alternate assessment route instead of a graduation route, diploma. Okay? So those are important things. I can't go through all of it tonight. So we're going to continue this talking about standardized IEPs because this is the time, guys. This is the time to talk about this stuff. And it's the time to really take the stuff seriously and take the time to get it together. The school has to respond to you. IDEA has not changed. It's still in play. Are schools closed right now? Yes, but IDEA is still in play, which means that it's like the weekend for 6 months or whatever it is, okay? But they still have to recognize you. They still have to, you know, hold IEPs, you know, all that kind of stuff. If you need to have another IEP, that stuff has to happen. All right. So the next time we chat, more than likely tomorrow, we'll talk about writing goals. All right. A little bit more about that. So you have an understanding at least of what should go into creating and writing a goal. Usually I build off of what's there unless it totally doesn't make sense. Like that one that made no sense that I saw where a child... The goal was for the child to get used to putting their hands in sticky, gooey mess type stuff because the school wanted them to get used to the sensory part of it. I guess you could consider reading instruction out loud as accommodation, but all kindergarten teachers give instruction out loud. No, that's not an accommodation because all teaching is out loud. Okay, Debbie. All right. So he's in that transition too. So you got a lot going on. Hopefully you have it straight and together. Did you guys have any questions before I hop off? Let me know. I'm here if you have questions. And if you guys are watching the replay, Post a 1 below if you're new, a 2 below if you're an oldie but goodie, and make sure you guys click notifications and join the group if you have not at Autism Mama Rocks IEP group. You can put that in the search bar and it'll take you right there. All right. All right, so no more questions? All right, so again, we talked about standard IEPs versus the yucky traditional IEPs, and we're going to continue this conversation. It's a lot of information. There's no way, no how to talk about it all in one setting. It's actually going to be in a couple settings, but the goal is for you to understand really like the primary, very important things that need to go into a standard IEP that is just not happening. And it needs to happen. You guys need to make that change and be aggressive about it happening and not being something that they try to get one over on you. You just shouldn't. I've found in a couple of the clients that I'm working with, it's interesting that once they say I have an advocate, and once I will take the reins and start the emails, and it's interesting how all of a sudden they get responses. And these parents had come to me because they had not been getting responses and had been getting ignored. And, you know, do you not think that I'm the first one to call them out on that? Oh, thank you so much. That's how I respond. Thank you so much for responding to me within 24 hours. I really appreciate it. However, I do have a question for you. This parent's been emailing you for the past 3 weeks and you've yet to get back to them, but you got back to me within 24 hours. While I appreciate that, I'd really appreciate from here forward that you get back to the parent within a reasonable amount of time. And in accordance to the state, a reasonable amount of time is 7 to 10 business days. So it'd really be appreciated if you would do the same courtesy that you did for me for the parent. Thank you so much. All right. But anyway, it sucks. I get it. So, you know, I hope that you guys focus on this. I will tell you, this IEP stuff will wear you down. And so you have to take a break. I've had to learn that. And you have to kind of decompress because it will take over. And so if you're anything like me at all, IEP stuff will take over. It will emotionally drain you, and it really can be destructive. So I want you guys to make sure that you keep your heads on straight. And if you feel like you're emotionally being bogged down and things are becoming too much, and what's boot camp? Brittany, what's boot camp? Maybe I'm tired. But yeah, you guys need to just take a step back and take a break, get your head back together, and then have a glass of wine, unwind, and then come back to it in a day or two, because there really is no time crunch. Let me rephrase that, maybe. It's important to get things done. Oh, my IEP bootcamp. So it's important to get things done. It's important to be on top of it. But if you're not your best, you're not going to get what you want done anyway in the most productive way. Believe me. So take that break. All right. And with everything going on now, I know I'm going stir crazy, you know, and I am frustrated at the fact that, you know, I'm teaching my child. Even though she could be getting other types of services because they were offered, there's no way, because she's just not going to be productive learning online. That's just not who my child is. So, I I have had to teach her, and it is very taxing on me. Yes, Jesse, you homeschool. You're welcome to come over to my house and homeschool my child, because I'm ready to shoot myself. But yeah. So for you guys who do homeschool, oh my gosh, please come over to my house. Please come teach my child. No, seriously, it's a lot. It takes a lot of time and effort, and you want to be productive, and it can be frustrating. So I'm with you guys. I am. So if you guys have any questions after I get off, make sure that you post them below, and I will make sure to answer them. And I will be going live tomorrow, probably between 8 and 9. I'll try to post, like 15, 20 minutes before I go live. That seems to be the best, because as much as I try to go live at certain times, I try really hard and then it never happens because something came up. So I do go live certain days, and I always do go live on certain days. It's just not always at that time. So does this time kind of work for y'all? I know a lot of times like 10 a.m. is good too. Are a lot of you guys home? Are you guys working? But yeah, hopefully things are going good for you, and things are starting to be on the up and up. So, all right, guys. So Brittany, I'll talk to you soon. It was good to have you back on here. And Cynthia, did you say, is there a form example of what FOIA looks like? What do you mean what FOIA looks like? You just go to the FOIA website and it tells you all about it. And you can even print off the form if you're going to make a complaint, if that's what you're saying. You can make a complaint to FOIA on the FOIA website, or you can get the form basically of how you request a FOIA request to get your child's this time for me is awesome. Okay. Oh, thanks, Brittany. But yeah, you can ask for a FOIA request anytime, and it's I want to say 20 cents or whatever a copy if they want to charge you. If they charge me because they don't really like me that. I don't know if I'd go that far, but they know that I'm that parent. Yeah, you just put in a FOIA request. You get the FOIA report at the FOIA website, and that's it. Same with oh, you're saying FOIA. Oh my gosh, I'm on like talking about FERPA. Okay. FERPA is 20 cents, and that's, in regards to your child's records. All right? So if you want your child's records and data for your child, that's a FERPA request. FOIA is a request in regards to everything else. Okay? Like I recently requested emails to and from, so to the director of special education, from the reading specialist, and from the reading specialist to the director of special education. I also asked for emails from the director of special education to the superintendent and assistant superintendent, and then I asked for emails from the assistant superintendent and the superintendent to the director of special education in regards to my name and my child's name. So that's FOIA. All right. FOIA is anything outside of your child's direct records, which data is their direct records. Okay. You just have to be very, very, very specific. I have on my course, Cynthia, did you buy my course? If you did, then it's in the notes section. You have everything that you request, everything under the sun. Every type of evaluation, every type of what you request in regards to records, everything is there. Everything. So yeah. Okay. Yeah, FOIA, you can request a lot of stuff. A lot. Okay. All right, guys. Any more questions? I'm actually going to jump off, and I have to, I wrote my whole I have to get to my team this Friday the service accommodation and modification course. So I have everything, like, because I write everything that I do. So my big course, I wrote it all. I did it all. I collaborated even with Pete Wright when I wrote it, everything. And so I'm going to be recording. So that's what I'm doing tonight. So it's 6 videos and it's going to be good. Good. Everything you possibly want to know on services, accommodations, modifications, how you get them, what they are, you know, how you change them up, you know, there's so much that goes into it that it's crazy. So, all right, guys, it's kind of quiet now. So I will let you guys go and I'll get to recording. So I will talk to you guys soon. And seriously, we'll talk tomorrow around between 8:30 and 9, and we'll continue standardized IEPs, okay? And the importance of them and what is in them and what schools don't know. That's the problem, is they argue it a lot of times because they don't know. Of course, they argue things that they don't want to do. But a lot of times when it comes to the IEP and what should be in it is because they don't know. All right. I will talk to you guys soon. I'll see you tomorrow. Bye.